This is one of the reasons why we migrated to Ultra, because of this setting. And of course, Ally, which we covered last week. These are two very helpful tools in higher education, and we really think that you're going to love using these. So without further ado, I'm going to start sharing and let's get going. Okay, so I have a brand new course here. And I only created it this morning because I didn't want to cheat. So this course has learned nothing. In other words, the AI has no previous information to go on. Remember that AI learns as we go. So the more you build in your course, the cleverer answers it's going to come up with. It's going to come up with more complex questions for your tests and more complex criteria for your rubrics based on the information you've already said. Now, you don't need to have a brand new course. You can apply this already to your existing courses. I just wanted to show you what it looks like starting completely from scratch. Now, first thing that we're going to do is we're going to start by creating an outline for our course. Now, everything I'm doing today is I've gotten that from ChatGPT. So I am going to design a hypothetical course that works on AI ethics. And this module is going to look at, different ethics things. So the first thing I asked ChatGPT to write for me is a design on a description. So I gave it the description, and this is the prompt that it gave me, or the answer that it gave me. So this is the description that we're going to use of the course. Now, obviously, you're going to write this yourselves, or you also might make use of AI to write this for you. I'm just going to copy that description. And I'm going to start by doing an outline. Now, I can add my own content, or I can auto-generate with the AI assistant. So we're going to do that. It's going to ask us for a description. So I'm going to input that description that I asked ChatGPT to write for me. It's already going to start generating. It will start making some images for us for the learning modules. And in this description, I added already what weeks I'm going to work with, and I added an outcome for each week. So I gave it quite a lot. So the more you give this AI, the more you will have to work with here. So an outcome, for instance, is a very good idea, because then when you design tests in this unit, it will have an outcome already for that unit and be better at designing questions for your tests. Now we can have prefixes for each. So I'm going to say week. This may be chapter or module or unit, whatever your subject requires. I'm going to say yes to include images, but we're going to have a closer look at some of these images. They sometimes turn out quite creepy, like this one. That looks very weird. And then you can just upload your own image where, the images don't work for you. But some of them are quite good sometimes. And these are all from Unsplash, and they are Creative Commons. You can use them freely without needing to cite. I'm going to show you some more Unsplash tricks in just a bit. Now we can decide on the complexity. How complex is this subject? Now, for me, this what I'm designing here, AI ethics, this is going to be a first-time entry subject for first years coming into a university, and it's a quickie that they just do online just to kind of introduce them. So I'm going to say this is a pretty low complexity. It's got 6 modules. So I've got them as weeks, but it's got 6 modules. And now I'm going to generate. And it takes a couple of seconds, and it's going to start generating 6 learning modules for us. Learning modules meaning containers, and these containers will form the outline of our subject or our module. And there we go. We're just waiting for the images to generate. Sometimes the AI will create images, and you'll see now when we zoom in on this one, they can look quite weird. So here we have it. So it's said week 1, introduction to AI ethics. And there's a little description of this module. Now, remember, these will be empty containers. It's not, unfortunately, going to do all the work for us, but it will help us further along the way. So what I've got here is pretty good. I'm going to select them all. I like them, but you can unselect any of them. If one of them doesn't really gel with what you were going through, you can also ask it to regenerate, and it's going to try another tactic and generate again. And you can keep on generating until you're happy with it. But for now, let's say we're happy. We're going to add those 6 modules to our course, and voila, we have 6 weeks. and they all cover what we asked it to cover. And it's also added some images. Now, this image is generated, you can see it, but it's very small, so you won't even notice it, but you can always come and just open up the learning module, edit, and change your image to something you prefer. Now, what's great and what I was talking about earlier is the splash that's also included in the AI assistant. We can upload from device, or I can go and get from Unsplash, or I can generate images with the AI assistant. So let's say I'm going to go for a generate this time. I'm going to say, so what was this unit? I think this was the one where we look at the responsibility. Let's say responsibility AI. Let's see what that generates. Now remember, these images are generated for you by your description, so they are all free to use. You don't have any guilt using them. They are completely copyright fine, if that's a way to state it. So you can use all of these. I'm going to say, oh, I like this one. And then it's going to replace that image that I didn't like with a new one. And that's all done. Now, you could have also asked to go to Unsplash and use one of their free images. But now I wanted to show you that for the banner. So we're going to look at that now. So we can also add a banner image. So on your course image, under the details and actions, you can just click on course image. And you can either upload an image from your device that you've previously created as a banner, or you can toggle to stock images from Unsplash. And now you will have the title of your course. You'll have the title of the course in your search bar, but you can change it to something else. So we can say, for instance, just AI education. And then we can search. I did note the question. I'll answer it just after this little second here. So now you can go through all of the images from Unsplash and select one of these. So I like this little car, so I'm going to say next. The problem, though, with banner images is they're very thin. So you're going to have to find an image that you can crop that still kind of works. So I'm going to add this bit where the mouth is of the truck and save. And now very quickly, I have a banner image. Okay, so that's also another thing. Just going to open up here. I've got a question. All right, Ellen, we'll get back to you at the end of the session and have a look at why yours isn't generating the modules. It's possible that it just doesn't have enough information. Okay. Now let's have a look at the two following things that you can do. The first one is you can create test questions. And the second one is you can create an assignment rubric with the AI assistant. Now, remember, the more information, again, we give it, the better. So we're going to start with inputting some information in one of these modules so that the subsequent test and assignment has some information to go on. So I'm going to go back to my cheat sheet here. So this was going to be my test. And I've got this on responsibilities for lecturers. So I'm just going to go and grab my lesson that I also designed with ChatGPT for this one. Expectation of lecturers using AI. So I'm just going to copy this. Okay. So this was week 5. And I'm going to add all this lesson 5. Add that content. Right. Now I've got something for the AI to work with, and this is going to be all of your content that you already have that your students are going to work through. Great, so that's that. So now I can create my test. So I'm going to create test. Let me just go and grab my test description. That's my session 4. Okay, this is the description I created for my test. And I told ChatGPT that this is going to be for Blackboard's AI assistant. So by telling ChatGPT that I'm going to use it, it knows how to phrase because it knows that it's going to be used to prompt another AI system. So that's always helpful if you are designing things with AI for AI, which sounds completely crazy, but that's the world we live in now. Okay, so I'm going to say start. So I'm going to auto-generate a question instead of adding up my own questions. I'm going to auto-generate questions. I'm going to input that description here of what I want this test to test. I can say inspire me, or I can be specific about what kind of question types I want to use. I'm going to leave it on inspire me. I'm going to bring the complexity down. The higher the complexity, the higher you toggle the complexity, the less accurate it's going to be. Because remember, it's still AI. It's still going to need all of your input. And you're going to have to double check each and every one of these questions because it's AI and it doesn't know everything. And it doesn't know everything in your context. However, the more and more you use it and the more and more you build your subject, the cleverer it will be and it will design more complex questions. So the trick is to keep on using it, feed it as much as you possibly can in all of the descriptions, and the more accurate it should be. Now for questions, let's say 5 questions, that'll be good. And we're going to generate. Okay, so it's taking a while because we gave it quite a long description. And there we have our 5 questions. Question 1 is a fill in the blank. And there are these are the answers. Now, I know, for instance, that this is not going to work for a fill in the blank question because those are too specific. My students are never going to be able to type exactly proactively, reviewing and addressing. So we can, for instance, say that this question, we're not going to check. This isn't going to work for us. Next one, lecturers are not responsible for ensuring true or false. Yeah, that's a good question. Question 3, fill in the blank. Okay, so there are 3 options here. That's fine. That'll work. Ethical concerns, that might work. We can test it later. And then another true or false question. Now, remember, it's basic questions, and that's because we brought the complexity, what did I just say? Complexity very low. Now, we can do this. We can go and say, no, you know what? I want it to be a little bit more complex and generate again. And you can keep doing this. And you can add your questions and then come and generate some more questions, and you can put in a different description and keep generating more questions. So you can be very specific with your description. For instance, your description can cover just this one section, perhaps one section, and those will all be multiple choice. Then you can come back and with another description, maybe generate your, matching questions or your other questions. So you can use it as often as you can in the same test, and you can be very, very specific. Okay, let's see. It's taking a bit longer, so maybe that's because we upped the complexity. Hopefully it gives us something good. Now, remember, this is just a help to get you started assistant. So it's not going to be able to do all of your tests for you. It's going to be a good way of getting some creativity flowing when creating and designing your courses and your tests and your rubrics, but it's never going to be able to do a complete job, and it's never going to be able to do as good a job as you, the lecturer. But it is a great start, and it takes away a lot of the drudgery of your tasks on a day-to-day basis, which means that you can save up some time to do the real thinking, which is what the humans do. So let's have a look at this. This is a multiple choice one. That's a good question. Oh, this one is good. It's got a matching for me, and it's even it added 4 distractors, which is great. So, that makes it a little bit more difficult. I like that one. That's good. And then describe 3 ways. So this is going to be where the students type in. So you might not want to check that because you only want auto questions. Okay, but I like them. I'm going to add them. And then there's another matching one. And then when you're happy and you've checked all the questions you want, you can just say add. And it's added our questions. Now it will give you an idea of what it thinks should be the points, or in this case, it's just giving them blank ones. So that's not good. We want this one to count for 4. So you can now go and edit as needed. This is going to be worth 3, I should say. This also worth 3. So what, I'm on 7 now, 8, 9, 10. Okay. And we can edit any of these questions. So if you're not completely happy with the questions, you can just edit them. I just want to save this one. That's why it hasn't actually taken in anything else I've done. Okay, so you can go and edit a question. So if any of the wording isn't exactly the way you want it, you can go and change it and just save your questions. But it's very important to really critically read through anything created by an AI, whether it's ChatGPT or your Blackboard AI or Copilot. Always read through what they create, because it is a machine and it doesn't have your experience or your know-how, so it's going to make mistakes, especially seeing as South African context isn't the foremost context. So very often things that we would put in the foreground, an AI would put in the background because of, the different context and America being the way it is. All right, but when you're done with your test creation, you can go and set up your test settings as you normally would, and you're done. Okay, great. Now the next one I've got set up here is for an assignment. So I've got my assignment brief here, but first we're going to give it some context with a lesson first. And I've got week 4 ready here. I'm going to leave that out because I've already got a homework assignment set up. So for week 4, I'm going to put in this context. And this is going to just give our AI a little bit more to work with. And the more content we have in the learning module, the more it will be able to help us with either tests or rubrics. Okay, so I'm going to exit. That's all ready. So now I'm going to create an assignment in this learning module, and I'm going to create a rubric using the AI assistant. Got my assignment here somewhere. There we go. I'm going to add this as the instructions for the assignment. Oops, let me save first. I keep doing that. Now I've lost the title. What was the title? The titles are very important. The AI uses them as kind of keywords, so it's always a good idea to put in a proper title for everything if you are going to be generating questions or rubrics within that item. Okay, so here is the brief for my students. I'm going to use the same brief for the rubric. So I'm going to just recopy that from here. And now I'm going to go into my settings. Add a marking rubric, but I'm not going to choose one of the rubrics that I already have. In this case, because it's a brand new subject, I have no rubrics. I'm not going to create one. I'm going to generate one. I'm going to input that description. I'm going to say what kind of rubric I want. So let's say I want points range. I want middle-ish complexity. Let's say we want 3 columns. So I want a 3-tier rubric, not a 4. Come on, there we go, 3. I don't really like this bar, but anyway. And then let's say 5 rows. And you'll see it starts generating as you go, but you still need to generate. It's just kind of giving you an idea. So it's now going to generate our rubric because we have quite a high complexity. Oh, okay. I thought it was going to take a little bit longer. And there we have our rubric. So it's telling us here are the 4, how many rows did we say? 5? 5 rows for criterias. And it's taken all of this information, not only from this description, but from the rest of the learning module as well. So the content that we placed there earlier, the more content, the better this will be structured. And here it gives us, so for an exceptional in the critical reflection part, a student needs to demonstrate exceptional critical reflection through insightful analysis of personal experience with AI tools, platforms, and reasons. So this is quite vague, so you might want to make this more specific, but it's a very good starting point, and it saves you a lot of time, in the process of building your rubrics. And you can perfect these rubrics over time, and then next year you already have this rubric ready for your 2025 version of this assignment. And we're going to say continue. We'll give this a name. And save. Now I'm going to say I want to add this new rubric to this assignment. And when I mark, I have this available. Okay, so you can also generate anytime you see these little stars. Okay, so technically speaking, you could generate this assignment. However, I played with it. It does a pretty good job, but then if you generate the assignment brief, it really does a bad job at doing the rubric. So you can kind of play around with just generating the brief, and it will base it on your description that you give it, and as well the other content in that learning module. But then when you create a marking rubric and generate that as well, it's pretty bad. So play around with it, but I would recommend either or. So you don't want to get into a situation where your AI is feeding your AI, because it starts kind of becoming more vague. It types out a lot, but it's a lot of nonsense. But really feel free with it. It will be interesting to see with you who have a lot more content in your learning modules to begin with, for it to work off of, how much more complex and accurate it becomes. So I'm quite excited to see some of your generated content. So that is all from me today. So it's a very short one today, but I was hoping that we can use the rest of the time to have a look at some of your questions and things. Also, okay, let me just have a look. So some of you are saying that you can't find the AI assistant in your subjects. Can I have a look? It should be on all subjects. Ellen, can you do me a favor and type in your subject code that you said you were unable to generate the modules on? Please, then I can have a look. Or Paul Forslewer, you can add your subject, whoever of you is struggling. There we go, made 21. All right, let's have a look. I'll look at both. Okay, just remind me to delete these afterwards. I'm saying, so it's basing what we have here just off the title of this thing. So I'm going to leave it here because I have no clue what happens in mechanical engineering, just as a test. So I'm just going to generate a couple of the ones that it suggests. Okay, so it seems to work on your subject, Ellen. So maybe after this, we should have a look at why you are unable to. Maybe it's a user thing. I'll just have to have a look at that. So I'm just going to delete these because you really don't want them, your students, seeing those. Paul, we're going to have a look at yours now. So it seems like it's fine in the subjects. It might be a user thing. Okay, cut 21.
For me, from my side, when I go to create, there is no icon for auto generate as you are choosing.
Yes, I see. I have the same problem. Is it's
So
just
your
that
auto generate is off. Okay, that just
Yes.
means that I made a mistake with the configuration. Sorry about that, guys. I'll fix it immediately after this session. It just means that I didn't select the correct role profiles for access. But I know exactly where that is and where I would have made a mistake. So I'll go and fix that in the next couple of minutes after the session has ended, and then you will be able to see that same auto-generate. Sorry about that. I sometimes forget that I have different admin access than everyone else. I just want to make sure this is the one that we have to delete. Yep. Okay, so I'll make sure that that is enabled in just a couple of minutes. Do we have any other questions regarding the process or anything that you want to view? So as a kind of like, just while I'm checking whose hand is up. Oh, Charmaine. Charmaine, please go ahead.
Morning. Thank you, Leandre. I know somebody called me when you just started, but I just wanted to know where can I access the recording just to get the first section of your explanation, please?
No worries. So a couple of places. We upload the recordings onto our YouTube channel. So if you go to our YouTube channel, I'm going to input this link into the chat here for you. We always upload them under the eThuto Talks playlist. So under playlists, you'll see a Talks playlist here. So later today, I'll have it uploaded there. But also when you open up your Teams chat, later on, it will be in there. So just in your normal Teams, I don't think I can show it while I'm in Teams, but in your normal Teams app that's on your computer, you go to your chats and you'll see that this training session has become a chat, and in there will also be a link. So those two places will be where you can find it. Okay. Any other questions? So if you were wondering, the AI assistant uses Microsoft Azure's AI companion. So that means that none of your information that you use on your subject will go into feeding the model. So it means that your information will never, ever, ever be compromised. So the Microsoft Azure model is fed by other devices, for instance, Microsoft's own things. So none of your Blackboard information will ever get out of our system. So don't worry about all of, any privacy in that matter. It's all protected, and it gets fed by other. Matthew, please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for the presentation. I just wanted to find out from the point of view of students, from our side, we can't be able to generate the assignments and questions and all that. Don't the students have the same facilities that they can generate answers and everything from what we have?
No. Student has none of that. So if we go into that subject of mine as a student, so all of this was generated, for instance, I just want to open up that test. No, the student has no AI, unfortunately. They still have to do the hard work. Just going to make this open to them. So from their point of view, it looks exactly the same as something that was created from scratch. So if they go into that test, I'm sorry, I opened up the assignment, but it's the same idea. So you can see it looks exactly the same as it would have looked to them were this a normal assignment. So they don't have any AI assistant, and they can't see what has been generated by it either. To them, it looks exactly the same. Mr. Paul Vosloo, go ahead.
Hi, Leandre. I just have, it's a bit off topic, however, it's still on AI. So this semester, I did my assignments, and in class, I told the students that you are welcome to use AI as a tool. However, make sure it doesn't replace your own work. And I did tell them that I will do AI checks on. Unfortunately, about 60% of them failed the AI checks. Most of the content was generated. You can actually see it by eye. Is there in our institution some sort of a standard check that we can use for AI? I know we have Safe Assign to check similarity. However, is there something for AI that we have as a tool at the moment?
Okay, so at the moment, no, unfortunately not. Turnitin added an AI check to their system, and we had an account to that. And then at the end, no, not at the end, at the beginning of this year, they scrapped it and said that they will now be charging an extra fee for that. Now, unfortunately, as you understand, we budget for software the year before, so we don't have the budget this year to reinstall the AI check, but we will do next year. So for this year, you can use some of the free. There are some free softwares available. Some of them get very good reviews.
Is one.
Yeah, some of them get very good reviews. But yeah, the policy, the CUT policy that was released a couple of years ago doesn't actually put a description on what is accepted and not accepted. They leave it up to the lecturer, to your discretion. So at the moment, it's a kind of like make do with what we can get free, and you decide what is an acceptable level and what is acceptable for the students to use in your class based on your content.
Okay. No, thank you, Leandri.
All right. Okay, any more questions we have? Please go ahead. Anyone? Okay, I think, yes, Charmaine, go ahead.
Sorry, Leandri.
No,
Can
no,
I
of course.
ask you just to show me in the beginning, just the beginning section that I now missed. Where did you go in and how did you get to A1 ethics, for example? Just that portion, please.
For the modules here, it's just here. So under plus here, auto generate. But we just realized that for some reason I messed up the configuration and it's not available to someone with a lecturer profile, but I'll fix it in just a bit. So when in a couple of minutes after the session, you can go back in and you should have this option here. So that's where that is. Yeah.
But what I wanted to know, I log into eThuto, and then which icon do I click on top?
Oh no, this is for any of your courses. I just made a course that I named AI Ethics. Yeah, it's
so
any
I go to
of your
content.
Courses. Yeah, any of your courses in your content.
And by the
then the plus, and then you generate your modules. Or if you want to go into tests and things, anytime you create a test.
Okay, you go in there.
Instead of creating your own questions, you can generate them.
Okay.
Okay, so they will be available in just a sec.
Okay, sorry, and the first one that you showed where you got your topic and then you add your 5 subjects, your 5 modules, for example. That first one that you showed with the 5 chapters,
this one.
week 1, yes. Okay, auto. So you just go into content and you go to auto generate.
Yeah.
Oh, and then where do you put A1?
That's when you put in the description. So it's going to ask you for a description to describe your subject.
Okay. And then to get your 5 chapters?
Yeah, so you just say that it's chapters and then
say
how many.
Okay, then you say generate. Okay. Yep. So that's the part I must. Thank you.
Okay. Matthew, your turn again.
Yeah, thanks. Just one last one.
Yep.
Can AI mark the assignment?
No, not yet, but actually that is not too far off. So I've been on the forums lately and I saw that they are currently working on a AI marker for assignments. It's going to start being introduced. So maybe if we can get into the beta somewhere in the middle of 2025. So it's not soon. It's, you know, when these projects go into the pipeline, it takes a very long time. However, I'll try and get us into the beta so that we can be one of the universities that test it and get there sooner. However, I do understand that if you copy and paste your assignments into a language model like ChatGPT and give it the rubric, it can do apparently a pretty good job of marking your assignments for you, at least a superficial look at it. So maybe that's something you can explore with. But yeah, it is something that Blackboard is currently looking at. There's also other software that we're looking at maybe purchasing. It's not as good, but it's going to allow feedback to be generated by AI. So that might come in the next couple of months, but we're still looking at where we're going to find the money. But no, soonest I can tell you is probably somewhere middle 2025, maybe end of 2025.
All right, thanks.
Any more questions? Okay. I'm going to log off now and then I'm quickly going to set up that thing. So give me a couple of minutes and then you can try again and then you'll be able to. So sorry about that. I forgot to check it as an instructor. I always forget. But I hope you have a lovely weekend and then we'll catch up again soon. I see that Ellen has asked me to share the policy. I will do so. I just have to go and find it. It's somewhere on that Staff Connect portal, the AI policy for the CUT, and I'll share that in this chat. Okay. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you, Leandri. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.